I've listened to Mad Season by Matchbox 20 for 2 months.
And I listened to it once yesterday.
Welcome to Spin It. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Spin It, the record ranking podcast for people who would rather be listening to music. I'm James, and with me is Connor.
How's it going?
It's going great. How are you?
It's been a whole week.
Boy, it sure has, and what a week it's been. Think about all the stuff that's happened in the last week. That's over now.
Yeah. You had a Saturday and a Sunday.
I have.
Even a Monday, possibly a Tuesday, more than likely a Wednesday, and finally another Thursday before landing back on Friday for another episode of the Spin It podcast.
And we're glad you made it.
Moment of silence for all those that didn't make it.
Oh, jeez. That's morbid and dark.
You said, glad you all could make it, or whatever. It just popped in my head.
Well, yeah, this episode is dedicated to all of you that didn't make it back this week.
Now I'm just imagining a Hunger Games style tribute in the sky.
Every time someone dies, the record scratch plays. This week we're talking about Matchbox 20. Do you know anything about Matchbox 20?
I know that they're the 20th Matchbox.
No, I mean, they're not. There were a lot more than 20 Matchboxes prior to Matchbox 20.
I know they were super popular in high school.
Were they?
I feel like I knew quite a few people who were in the Matchbox 20.
I don't think I did. I definitely know some of their bigger songs. I mean, we were around in 2000, right? When this album came out, we were still learning to read, but we were around. But yeah, I definitely... So this is a real year of discovery album for me also. This is one that I've recently kind of stumbled into.
Really?
Yeah.
I told somebody we were doing this album, and they were upset with your pick.
Well, I mean, that's understandable, but also wrong, and I can justify it.
They were like, why go with that album and not, I forget which one.
Because there are multiple good albums.
Yeah, it's whatever they were claiming was their most popular by far.
Yeah. Yourself or Someone Like You was also pretty popular. It was pretty big. And then there's other records, More Than You Think You Are has Unwell on it. But Mad Season, I mean, it just was the one that jumped out to me.
I mean, we're going into the Mad Season.
That's right. Spinter Wonderland. The maddest of seasons. But no, this is a year discovery pick for me because I remember Matchbox 20 and their music from radio in my childhood, but I really had never listened to them, really sought them out much. I knew Unwell. I knew the hits, a few of them. But I was sitting in my usual coffee shop one day doing podcast work, almost certainly, for an episode that came out a while back. And there was just a ton of Matchbox 20 and Creed and all kinds of other stuff on the radio from that, even Nickelback a little bit. But just that kind of stuff. That was the vibe on the playlist of whoever had their iPhone plugged in that day. And I was like, wow, every time a song came on and I was like, what's this? It was Matchbox 20. And I was like, I really am enjoying this. Maybe I should put it on the albums of the month list. And then I did, and Mad Season was here. I was like, perfect. I've discovered this in the year of discovery. Time to talk about it on the podcast. And maybe help you discover Matchbox 20 or rediscover whatever you did or didn't know about them from your childhood or high schoolhood, apparently, even though I feel like that's past their prime a little bit.
Oh, yeah. But that's when I knew people who were like, Matchbox 20, all the rage.
All the rage?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's a direct quote.
Wow.
Yeah.
I also think it was a year of discovery pick because actually what's funny is I had no idea that Rob Thomas was the lead singer of Matchbox 20, which is silly, but I never knew Matchbox 20, so you have to cut me some slack. Because I knew him from his solo song, Someday. Do you know Someday? That one was huge when we were in high school.
Sounds familiar, but I'm bad at titles.
Well, the title of it is Someday.
Wow. Who'd have thought?
I know. Well, I knew Rob Thomas from that, and then I started doing research on Matchbox 20. I was like, oh yeah, this is the same guy. So it was kind of a double discovery for me, which is cool. Maybe by the end of the episode, I can make 18 more discoveries and have a Matchbox of 20 discoveries. That's a stretch, though. I feel like 18 discoveries is going to be hard to get, but we'll see. Well, Matchbox 20, they make pop rock music.
Pretty poppy, pretty rocky.
Yeah, that sort of thing. And they were formed out of Orlando, Florida, home of Michael Mouse. Well, second home of Michael Mouse. He's really from California, but you get the idea. They officially became a band back in 1995 after three friends decided to split off from their previous band, which was called Tabitha's Secret. They had been with that band for 5 years and decided it was time for a change. So, I mean, they were already halfway a band when Matchbox 20 started, but that trio was Paul Doucette, the drummer and the percussionist, Brian Yale, the bassist, and Rob Thomas, the vocalist. They also, for Matchbox 20, brought in guitarists Adam Gaynor and Kyle Cook. And they actually got the name Matchbox 20 in an interesting way, too. I mean, we already established that they aren't the 20th Matchbox, you know? Or they aren't 20 people in a Matchbox either. That'd be wild. But apparently, the name came from Paul Doucette's time as a waiter. He saw a customer come in a very memorable shirt, a softball jersey with a lot of different patches on it. One patch had the number 20, one patch had the word Matchbox, and he just kind of smushed them together in his brain. Matchbox 20. What a combo.
Wombo combo.
Yeah, I think it is actually a pretty good band name, all things considered, especially for as random as it is. It feels like it should have more meaning, but he really just saw a cool shirt. Well, the band quickly signed with Atlantic Records, because again, they've already got 5 years of band experience under their belts. And they put out their first record, Yourself or Someone Like You, in 1996. I'm sorry if you think that's the record that we should have been doing.
I wouldn't know.
I wouldn't know. Yeah, too bad. But it was huge. I mean, to whoever you talk to's credit, it definitely was a very successful record, especially for a debut, because it had 5 charting singles, including hits like Push, 3 a.m., Real World, Back to Good. Like, there was a lot of great stuff going on in that first record. Yourself or Someone Like You peaked at number 5 on the Billboard 200. It charted internationally in 8 other countries. Over time, it's gone a really massive 12 times platinum in the US, which actually means it's certified diamond 1 1/5 times. That's a crazy statistic. It's hard to get certified diamond, let alone to do it 20% of the way to another diamond.
That is pretty impressive.
Yeah. And actually, to put that in further perspective, as of 2023, as of like last year's statistics, there are only 92 albums that have crossed the diamond threshold, that have gone 10 times platinum, sold 10 million units in the United States. 92 albums have done it. And what might be even crazier is Garth Brooks has the most, with 9 of them.
Oh, wow.
10% of all diamond albums are Garth Brooks records. So that blew me away. Anyway, needless to say, Yourself or Someone Like You was a huge, huge hit. Matchbox 20 quickly became a mainstay of late 90s soft rock radio. They even had the chance to work with Carlos Santana, who we talked about on episode 101. They did the song Smooth for his comeback record called Supernatural. It netted Santana and Rob Thomas 3 Grammys, including Record and Song of the Year, which is pretty cool. Also, around this time, they decided to ditch the numerical 20, like 20, and then they replaced their name with Matchbox 20, Twenty, which is an interesting choice. I kind of wonder why they did that, but it is what it is. It's the same as like 21 Pilots, always spelling out their name, I guess. Meanwhile, of course, the band was hard at work on a follow-up to that explosive record, and that sophomore album would be today's subject, Mad Season. For Mad Season, the band took a bit of a left turn away from rock and more into pop. And I think it's a really interesting record because it does feel, at least to me, very 2000. Like very nostalgic, very like a part of that era, but in a good way, right? And actually, that's another reason, to be perfectly honest with you, another reason I picked Mad Season is because we have a good chunk of albums from the 90s in our podcast repertoire. I felt like we were a little short on albums from the 2000s. So anywhere I can get a decent album from the 2000s, from the aughts, gotta grab it.
Fair enough.
They recorded Mad Season in early 2000 in 3 separate studios between Atlanta and Nashville. Mad Season came out on May 23rd of that year, and it sold 365,000 units in its first week. By the end of 2001, it would go 4 times platinum for selling 4 million units. And it peaked at number 3 on the Billboard 200, which means it charted higher than Yourself or Someone Like You. So to all the haters, I say, how about that? And it charted in 9 other countries worldwide. Remember how I said Yourself or Someone Like You only charted in 8? Mm-hmm. So, just saying, this one's got some stats to back it up.
Hey, I'm not the one that questioned your choice.
No, I know, and I appreciate that. But you're the only one that can hear me talk about it right now. I feel like I need to defend myself, and you're the only person that's here to witness it. Plus, Mad Season also had its own share of successful singles, right? Mad Season got Bent. That was the most successful. Actually, it ended up being the most successful Matchbox 20 single of all time, as far as like the charts go. And aside from Bent, we get If You're Gone, Mad Season, and Last Beautiful Girl. Those are all great songs. So that's the record we're talking about today. We'll get into all the songs in a bit. For the rest of their career, I mean, it's still ongoing, but they would get one more record and an EP out by 2003. And after that, they took a hiatus of several years to pursue some different solo projects. Rob Thomas did a solo record, and he even made a song for Disney's Meet the Robinsons. Do you remember that?
I do.
I feel like I knew that, but it's like a deep cut memory. Like I could never have told you that.
Well, I didn't know that specific fact, but I know that movie pretty well. That was a pretty popular movie in
high school.
My household growing up.
Everyone in high school said, man, Meet the Robinsons. Matchbox 20 got back together in 2007-ish. They toured and they even opened for Alanis Morissette, who we talked about on episode 74. And then they put out their fourth record, North, in 2012. So that's probably, if people were Matchbox 20 fans in high school, that's probably the record they were talking about. It was like their comeback album. She's So Mean is on that record. Overjoyed. I actually don't recognize too many of the tracks on this one, but I'm sure I heard them if they were so popular in high school as you claim. So they put out that record and then they kind of slowed down again, but then things kicked back up again in the late 2010s with more tours, and to date, Matchbox 20 has also put out a fifth record called Where the Light Goes in 2023. So they're still going strong. They just take a lot of breaks, you know? Amicable breaks. That's neat. As for Matchbox 20's awards and accolades, they've won 3 major awards on 16 significant nominations, including a People's Choice Award. They've also been nominated for 5 Grammys, although they've never won. Mad Season and Bent were nominated for Best Rock Album and Best Rock Song Grammys in 2001. And then, of course, their second biggest hit, Unwell, or maybe their most well-known, but second highest charting hit, Unwell, was nominated for Best Pop Vocal Performance in 2004. They've got 2 MTV Video Music Awards and 5 American Music Awards. But that's what I've got on Matchbox 20. That's what I've discovered so far about them. And now it's time for the Mixtaper to come out and discover new things with all of us, as he lies to me about this band and its members and their doings.
Not necessarily.
Well, he could tell the truth. That's true. It does feel like, more often than not, they are lies, but rooted in truth.
That does feel like his way.
Yeah, he's learned that makes it a lot harder for me, I think, because then it's believable. That's the problem with it, is it's so believable when there's truth mixed in.
It's also, I think, more fun for the audience when they at least walk out knowing something true.
Well, as he likes to tell me, you'll learn 4 new things either way.
That's true.
Because you either learn that they did something or you learn that they didn't.
He does claim that. Let's get him on out here.
Let's.
Hey, it's me, the Mixtaper, here to teach you 4 new things.
As always, and I'm excited to learn 4 new things, I think.
How much you know about Matchbox 20? How big into them did you get when you discovered them?
I wouldn't say I know a ton. I think you've got a decent shot at finding some surprising things this week. But I guess ultimately that's up to you. How much do you think you know about Matchbox 20?
Well, I know at least 4 things.
I did hope that was the case, yeah.
Sometimes I don't know 4 things about the artists we're doing. Sometimes the answer is ambiguous and left up to the mystery department. So it's not always a given that I'm going to know 4 things.
No, that's true.
This time, I do.
Oh, good. No more mysteries. I like that.
Up first...
Oh, boy.
Rob Thomas has co-written with a famous artist.
Co-written with a famous artist. I hope you're not talking about Carlos Santana and Smooth.
Please, I would never.
You never talk about Smooth? What if it was really good?
One thing I would never do is talk about Smooth with Santana.
Wow, you must really hate that song.
I would absolutely never.
I see. Well, what other famous artists has Rob Thomas co-written with?
Oh, well, with just one of the most successful musicians ever to exist.
Ever to exist? Wow. Orpheus? No, I'm just kidding.
It's a good one.
Thank you. Who's one of the greatest musicians ever to exist?
Oh, just Mr. Jaggeroo himself. The old Jaggerbug.
Jaggeroo.
Little Jag.
Jagger, Mick.
Jagsy. Yep.
The Rolling Stone.
Mick Jagger.
Mick Jaggeroo. That's probably how he introduces himself when he plays in Australia, down under. Well, what's he get the chance to write with Mick Jagger? How's this come about?
Well, he actually worked with him twice. He actually wrote 2 songs.
Really? Mm-hmm. The first one must have gone well.
No, they were basically at the same time.
Oh. Well, which 2? What are the songs?
He was helping Jagger produce his solo album, Goddess in the Doorway.
Okay.
For which he presented Old Jaggeroo with 2 songs.
Old Jaggeroo. Yeah. Why does Old Jaggeroo need songs? I feel like he probably has a lot of them at his disposal, right? He's Mick Jagger.
Yeah, but, a good leader doesn't always have to have the best song. He just has to have the ability to recognize it when he hears it.
Okay, so Rob Thomas puts on his producer hat, works with the Jaggeroo on his solo album, presents 2 songs to him,
He's working with Jagger, working on the solo album, says, I got some songs for you.
and Mick Jagger says, "These rock."
Well, he says, this one rocks, it's mine. This other one, it's yours. It sounds like you.
So what, Mick Jagger like co-wrote it with him and then let Rob Thomas take it?
I think the way I interpreted it was that the first one, he was like, yeah, this sounds like a me song. And then the other one that was presented to him, he was just like, I like it, but it's not my style. You keep it.
Okay, so I guess this is no co-writing at all then.
Yeah, it was a collaboration, but I don't know if he got co-writing or not.
Right. Well, I just mean it sounds like Rob Thomas did the whole thing and Mick Jagger just took the one song.
That's the way I interpreted what I read.
Yeah.
That's what presented kind of inferred to me.
Yeah, it does make sense.
The songs are called Visions of Paradise, which is the one he kept, and then Disease, which is the one that Thomas kept and eventually released on Matchbox 20's third album, More Than You Think You Are.
I see. Okay, so I guess that's another relevant question then. More Than You Think You Are came out in 2002. When did he write these songs for Mick Jagger? Like, how did he get in the room?
Well, he got in the room because the old Jagmeister was a big fan of Smooth with Santana.
Oh, wow. Look at that. We don't talk about that.
I purposely really led into the I'm not going to talk about that knowing it was going to come up later in the fact.
That's really funny because I thought you leaned into not talking about Smooth. My suspicion was that you totally meant to talk about Smooth, and I just called you on it right away.
Oh.
You were pivoting and like making it up on the fly. So that does change the complexion of this thing quite a bit. Yeah.
Yes. You think I would have a fact about the thing so obviously in your rundown?
Yes.
I'd never done that.
No, perhaps not, but perhaps. So the Jagmeisteroo loves Smooth.
Jagmeister really likes Smooth. He was looking to bring a modern influence to his solo work.
Reasonable. Did he ever work with Rob Thomas again after Disease and the other song that you said Mick Jagger kept?
Not that I'm aware of. So this all took place in 2002.
Just a one-off kind of thing. I think I kind of believe this now. I was leaning spin, I admit it.
Mainly because you thought I was pivoting.
Not mainly, but that was no small part of it. But it feels believable. I don't know, the Jaggeroo's getting up there in age in 2000 and now. I mean, a quarter of a century more now than he was then. But yeah, and it sounds like he didn't even co-write these songs. So I guess if that's a technicality you're going to nail me on, that make me pretty mad. But it does sound like Rob Thomas had these songs and wrote them, and I could see this being a thing. So I'm going to tentatively say that this is a fact.
Well, I'm going to tentatively answer that this is also a fact.
Then I'm going to lock in fact.
Yeah, I guess I didn't ask if you locked in on that one. But
Well, I tentatively answered, and so did you, so...
Oh, so now you've locked it in. So I will lock in spin.
No!
Could you imagine if I played the long game on that one?
That would be really unfortunate.
Yeah, no, this is a true fact.
There it is.
I don't know if he got co-writing credit or not, but
Well, there's an easy way to find out.
they definitely worked together on those 2 songs.
That's cool. Song by Mick Jagger, Visions of Paradise, Mick Jagger song. Yeah, look at that. He does
There
have
you
co-writing
go.
credits. Mick Jagger, Rob Thomas, Matt Clifford. That's cool.
There you go.
Rob Thomas has co-written with a Rolling Stone. That's really cool.
It is pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah, Mick Jagger's like a living legend of rock music.
Mm-hmm. The old Jagmeister. Jaggeroo.
I don't know. I would really be curious if anybody ever in history has called him that or for the first. Because part of me thinks we can't be the first, and part of me thinks we have to be the first.
Well, up next, Rob Thomas has an entire room in his house dedicated to memorabilia from Smooth with Carlos Santana.
Wow.
But I would never talk about that song.
You never talk about that song. I understand. Now, I can't believe you're just throwing that all out there right off the bat. Like, you didn't make me guess what the weird room in his house is for.
Yeah, I thought about it, but I really wanted to throw. I got too excited about the Smooth.
The smooth room.
Yeah. Rob Thomas has a Smooth room. That's what I'm telling you.
What kind of memorabilia does he have from Smooth? I mean, I'm sure there's plaques and Grammys and, you know, all kinds of awards. What other memorabilia is in this room?
Yep. So he's got the awards and stuff. But he also has a signed guitar
Ooh,
that has Santana's signature on it.
that's pretty cool.
It has the framed platinum record, some magazine covers, and photos from his time working with Santana.
Now, how big is this room? Is it like an extra closet? You know, a spare bedroom? Is this like the main room in his house? Is it a basement? Like
The main room in his house.
an entire smooth room could mean a lot of different things. I'm just picturing like a smaller Santana shrine.
Yeah, well, he actually does call it his smooth shrine.
Yeah, that's kind of what it seems like.
So I would imagine it's like, yeah, like a small walk-in closet or a smaller spare room. I'm assuming it's not a main room, but I have not seen it, so your guess is as good as mine.
Yeah, the smooth room. I mean, it's really cool to work with Santana. Another like living legend of rock music. But like, what's so special about Smooth for Rob Thomas that he feels the need to dedicate a room to it specifically? And it's not just like in the other room with all of his Matchbox 20 stuff and other awards. Because I'm sure he has a room for that stuff too, or at least a space for it. But why the shrine?
I'm not really seeing anything that says why. I mean, if you had a guitar signed by Santana and a platinum record that you and he had worked on, would you not create a shrine for it?
Well, I would definitely display it, but I would put it with all my other music stuff, probably.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know if I'd sequester it away in a place that it was less likely to be admired.
Don't know.
I'm going to say this one is a spin.
Going with spin on this one.
Yeah, I think he's got all the smooth stuff, but I'm not so sure he's got it tucked away in a smooth shrine. Or if it is a shrine, I don't think it takes up an entire room. I don't think it would be quite enough to make this a true fact.
Yeah, I mean, it could not be a full room. He just refers to it as having a room dedicated to the memorabilia. Maybe there's other stuff in it, but the room itself is just dedicated to that specific memorabilia. I don't know.
The smooth room.
But you're locking in spin?
Yeah, I think I'm going to say that this one's a spin, even though I think he's got all that stuff.
Oh, apparently this song is what brought him global fame. This is like one of the big things that put him on the map.
The big breakout song. Well, it definitely would be.
Maybe that's why it gets special treatment.
I could see that.
Locking in spin.
Yeah, I think I'm going to lock in spin.
Okay. This is a spin.
Yes! I knew it. Is it because he doesn't have it all in a room, or is some of that stuff a lie?
I don't know if any of that's true.
Oh, huh. Well, I guess I totally did buy into part of that lie then.
Yeah, I don't. Some of it could be true. I assume he has some stuff, but
Almost certainly.
what and where, I don't know.
If nothing else, at least the Grammys that belong to the Recording Academy.
The ones he's keeping for them.
Just holding on to.
I don't know which of these two makes a better final ramp.
Well, at least we get both of them. That's the good part.
We'll go here first. Matchbox 20 once funded a Barbershop's expansion.
Okay. A barbershop expansion. So is this their barbershop, or is this a random barbershop? How do they decide we're going to fund this haircut place?
It was their barbershop.
Okay, so they all went to the same person.
Before getting famous, yep.
Oh, fun. And so when they got famous, like, how's this work? They want to just go thank him for being a good barber?
Yeah, well, it was a regular hangout for the band members. They'd all, like, go get their haircuts together and just hang out.
Just hang out?
They saw it as a symbol of their roots.
The barbershop. That's interesting. I've never really, like, wanted to spend more time in a barbershop than I had to, really.
Not going to good barbershops.
No, it's true. No, I have been to good barbershops.
The guy that cuts the Mixtaper's hair, I mean, to be able to get around the mask without taking it off takes a special kind of skill.
Yeah, that is a talent.
And the hat, I mean, to cut through the hat without hurting the hat.
Well, he could take the hat off, right?
No. Outfit stays intact during haircuts.
I see. Well, I just don't think of the barbershop as like a good hangout place to chat with people.
Yeah.
You know, there's clippers and scissors and it's loud and people are getting haircuts. So they're probably either all at once in separate chairs, like parallel to each other and spread out, or taking turns up in the chair and not able to engage with each other in the conversation as well. But why does this barbershop need an expansion? Is it like small and hurting, or just looking to get more business and expand? Like, does it need it, or did he want it?
Yeah, he was looking to get bigger. He wanted to grow his business, and so the band helped fund that.
I see. See, usually barbershops want to make cuts, so...
Good one.
Thank you.
As part of the expansion, the shop also features a small memorabilia section dedicated to the band.
Not this again. Dedicated to Smooth by Santana. That's cute. They've got a little Matchbox 20 corner of the barbershop.
Yep. And anytime that they're going to be performing in that area, they always give the barbershop a set of tickets to give out to the concert for some of the regulars.
That's really cool. Do they go get their haircut when they're there? I'm sure they would if they loved it this much.
I would think so.
That's neat. That's pretty cool. How much money did they spend on this expansion? How big of a deal is this?
Well, what a winky dink you asked that question, because it's actually time to take a break from Factor Spin and play everybody's second favorite game show. Guess that dollar amount.
Oh, man. Well, I don't know, though. Like, I don't know how big the barbershop is to begin with.
I mean, you've been in barbershops, so you know.
Yeah, they're usually not that big.
Their average size. And I would say based on I know the figures, so I would say it's what I would consider an average size barbershop expansion cost.
An average,
like
you know, just the normal price of your standard barbershop expansion.
Listen, I took economics of barbery in college. That was the second half of the semester after clouds.
Wow.
But I don't know. You like the bigger the nicer the shop, the more expensive it's going to be to expand it, right? So like this is a number I would have guessed based on my understanding of the size of a barber shop.
Okay.
If that helps in the slightest.
I guess we'll start the bidding at $150,000.
Whoa!
I don't know. I don't know the average barbershop size.
I mean, I'm not going to say you're extremely far off, but that is too high.
Well, yeah, of course. Here's what I've learned with guess that dollar amount. It's better to establish a range early, so I don't have to just keep going up and up and up and up. So if I guess an amount that's definitely over, I have a window like to work within.
Okay.
So now I could just cut it down to $100,000.
Less.
$80,000.
Less.
$20,000.
More.
See, so now we've got another window.
Same number of windows, just a smaller one.
Well, yeah, the window's closing a little bit. $40,000.
More.
$60,000.
More. You really chose the wrong time to jump to the other end of the window.
I guess I did. $70,000.
More.
So I'm down to 10 grand here in between 70 and 80K.
Yeah, like if you just got down 10 grand again, you would have been right there immediately, and you just sprinted to the other end of the window.
Well, I'm just, just trying to figure it all out. That would have been a better strategy, retrospectively. $73,000.
Less.
See? Look, now we've shrunk the window a lot. $71,000.
More.
I had a 50-50 shot. Darn it. $72,000.
More. No, okay. What? Could you imagine if I got that granular?
$72,821.
Yeah, 72 grand is the number.
Okay, so I was half off.
Yeah, that's what I said. You weren't. I wouldn't say you were ridiculously off. You didn't go $1 million.
$1 million barbershop expansion. Well, I also just don't know what you need to do to expand a barbershop. Is it just more walls? Is it more equipment?
Yeah, that's a good question.
So I just took a guess that would probably encompass anything that would be needed. Yeah, I like this. This is kind of interesting. I think this is a true fact.
You think it's a true fact?
$72,000 barbershop expansion. And I'm gonna get it, hair joke. I'm gonna lock it in.
Oh, haha, like a lock of hair.
Oh, like that too.
Well, you see, the answer is also a hair joke because this is a spin.
I don't know if that's a hair joke.
It's not. I just wanted to say
Okay.
You take a spin around the barber chair, they spin you around.
Oh, okay. That's
how they cut mine, at least. They just constantly spin me.
They just, he leaves the hat on, the mask on, just spins you around and starts clipping.
He has a little pump that you can just pump and it spins the chair.
Inventive. Well, that's not true. That sounded really cool. I thought they were helping a small local business.
It does sound really cool. I even came up with a fake name for the barbershop, expecting you to ask, and you didn't.
I kind of realized after I found out that this was false that I should have asked more about the barbershop and who the barber is and all that.
Yeah. It's a fake, cozy, vintage-style barbershop in Orlando, Florida called Downtown Cuts.
That sounds pretty fake. I should have asked.
But you didn't.
No, so there's no barbershop. I guess it was a little strange that they hung out in a barbershop. I did clock that, but I lost it by the end.
I was going to point out that that's the stereotypical thing in movies and TV shows is that the barbershops always have a bunch of people hanging out in it that all know one another. But then I was you might be oh, that is the stereotypical thing and you're a movie guy, so this is probably a spin. And so I held back. I resisted the temptation to point that out.
That was probably a good move. So there's nothing true here at all.
No. Hey, didn't promise there'd be anything true, just that you'd learn something new.
Now you've learned that Matchbox 20 did not renovate a barbershop.
Yeah. The final fact, our final ramp, if you will.
I will.
Matchbox 20 was sponsored by a popular candy brand.
Ooh, what candy brand is that?
Well, I think I should make you guess, but I will give you a hint.
Well, that's fair. I'll take a hint.
Would you like to make a guess before having a hint for a free Mixtaper buck?
Sure, I guess. There's no harm in taking a guess. Now, I'm trying to relate candies to the name Matchbox 20, and it's not working.
But to say I wouldn't?
No, I was going to say the only ones that come to mind are candy bars with like number names, like 100 grands. So I'm not really getting any here. I'm going to say a good first guess. It's like, okay, answer me, riddle me this, Mixtaper. Is there a reason in particular this candy would sponsor this band? Is it based on like a song title? Like, is there a similarity or a thread? It's just random?
No. Feels random to me.
Okay. In that case, it's probably Three Musketeers.
Oh, not a bad guess. But no.
Oh.
And also it was kind of a bad guess. No. Okay.
Oh, man.
I mean, it wasn't not a bad guess.
Well, what's the hint here?
It's a piece candy. It comes in multiple pieces.
No, I almost guessed M&M's.
But it's not M&M's.
No, it's not. And I was hoping that you would say it was because I recently spent some time on the M&M's wiki and did not see anything about Matchbox 20.
Why were you on the M&M wiki?
I don't remember, but it was weirdly thorough about like all the characters that appear in their commercials, all the different M&M's and their personalities. Go check it out.
I will.
But I was hoping to catch you in a lie there, but that did not work. A Pieces candy. Well, if M&M's are out, Skittles are in, Nerds are in.
Taste the rainbow.
Well, I did just say Skittles. Is that you saying that Skittles is right, or are you just reacting to Skittles?
Yeah, you said Skittles, so I wanted to say the slogan. Taste the rainbow.
Okay. What's another piece candy? I don't know. They're kind of eluding me right now beyond the ones that I've said.
Maybe you've said it.
Well, I thought you would tell me if I had said it.
No, I was waiting on you to make a guess. I thought you were just naming off piece candy.
Well, then I'll just rename them and you just tell me if I'm right.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
What I like the Nerds.
No.
Okay, like Reese's Pieces.
No.
I know it's probably called Reese's Pieces. I understand.
No, Reese's Pieces, please.
Don't come at me in the comments for that. It's a Reese's cup in my mind.
You're correct.
I'm not, but potato. Pieces.
Pisces.
Rice's Pisces for the astrological fans out there. Does Fun Dip count as a piece candy?
I would count that, yeah.
Okay, well, it's probably not that. If you have to justify whether you count it.
I was just telling you that, yeah, I would count that.
Okay. What else is a piece candy? Like Sour Patch Kids?
No.
Swedish Fish?
No.
Is it a fruity candy?
Yeah.
There's a lot of piece fruity candies. Like Runts? Jawbreakers?
No.
I feel like you're just going to have to tell me.
Maybe you've already said it.
Is it whatever you just crunched on? Is it whatever you're eating right now?
No.
Like, that was a hint. See if you could tell what candy this is. I don't know. How do I progress? How do I progress this fact?
Well, by guessing the candy correctly. And you already said it. You just didn't rename it after you asked me to tell you if you were right or not.
What? Uh-oh. I guess I didn't rename Skittles after you said Taste the Rainbow.
It's Skittles!
That's so annoying. But you said it was just you doing the slogan.
Well, it was, because I didn't know you were locking in that answer.
But whatever. This is so annoying. I can't believe we've done this for 178 weeks. Okay, Skittles, Taste the Rainbow, Matchbox 20. What's the Skittles sponsorship look like for them?
The worst part was, it was definitely me saying Taste the Rainbow because you got it right. But then you kept naming them and then asked if that was me confirming it or not. And I went, no, that was just me saying it.
I know. Yeah, I was like, I'm not crazy. I'm just a little unwell.
Anyway.
What's the Skittles sponsorship look like for Matchbox 20?
Well, for one of their early 2000s tours, Skittles sponsored them. So they had Skittles branded merchandise, colorful confetti, stylized merchandise to match the different Skittles stuff. And what is described as a candy-themed concert experience, but I could not find details on what that meant.
A candy theater whole tour was Skittles saturated.
I guess.
That's wild. Can that be? I don't know what to think about that.
The only detail I could find that it all seemed candy-themed concert experience like was that the band would throw Skittles into the crowd during the show.
Oh, just like randomly, just at random points he reaches into his pocket and throws some Skittles out there.
Yeah, I, again, don't have any details on how they threw them. I spent more time than probably was sane on trying to figure out if they were throwing bags of Skittles or individual Skittles.
Oh, bags of Skittles. That, you know what? Didn't even cross my mind.
I don't know.
Did not even cross my mind. I just thought throwing loose Skittles out there to the crowd.
Yeah, I had no idea if it was bags of Skittles or loose Skittles, but apparently they threw Skittles into the crowd, and it was a candy-themed concert experience, whatever that means.
Yeah.
And the only other detail I have for you, and you would never ask a question to get me there, so I'll just tell you, is that I have a quote from Thomas saying that they should have partnered with a toothpaste brand for their next tour due to all the fans' rotted teeth from the Skittles.
From getting so many Skittles.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
no.
He thought that would have been funny. That's all I really got for you.
Wow. That is really something. The Skittles tour. I think this is maybe a spin.
Maybe a spin.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about what tours look like in 2000. I just don't, in advertising, right? In 2000. I don't see this being like a branded thing then. I guess it could have been, but that feels like so tacky, even for back then, you know? I just feel like that's a thing you wouldn't see.
Maybe. I'm not a branding exec.
Like now, if somebody did that, that'd be like, nobody would go. It'd be like selling out.
No, I feel like now would be the time to do it. I think 2024 going into 2025 is the perfect time to have such a tacky thing, because it would be like so tacky that people would want to go with it just to see how tacky it is.
Oh, just to experience the Skittles tour?
Yeah, I think it would go full circle. It'd be so tacky that it's popular.
Maybe. I guess in this TikTok generation, everyone will want to get hit in the face with Skittles, either in bags or individually.
You're locking in spin for this one?
Yeah, I think I'm going to lock in that the Skittles tour is fake. I mean, maybe not fake,
Ooh, but a spin the way I've presented it.
but I don't think a full-fledged Matchbox 20 Skittles sponsored tour happened.
With Skittle branded merchandise and a candy themed concert experience.
Yeah, the vague candy-themed concert experience. Your lack of information is intriguing, and it makes me want to believe that you did research this a lot and found nothing. But
playing it safe. After being burned by the Barbershop expansion.
that was a devious lie. It was a good lie, too. That was like a pure spin. Like, when you first told me it was a spin, I thought, oh, maybe that's one that's based in truth. But you just thought of that. You always find something new. Anyway.
This is a spin.
Oh, hallelujah. The Skittles tour did not happen. Thank goodness.
It did not. And it is another pure spin.
You just made it all the way up.
And it's an old spin.
Old. You made this one up a long time ago?
Yeah, well, back when we first started this podcast, I made a giant document full of potential spins.
Yeah.
Just in like fever dream, like brainstorming dumps.
Just anything you thought of.
Yeah, I've used a lot of them over the last 178, what episode is this? 178 episodes?
Yeah, well, we did have the test episode, so.
Yeah, I've used a lot of them, but I still have a few, and I add on to the list anytime I get another brainstorm of them. So it's an ever-evolving list. But I found one that I'd missed, sectioned between, I think it was Pink Floyd, the old-fashioned ice cream maker,
That is Pink Floyd.
and the Afraid of Dolphins, who was that?
That was a good bit later.
Yeah, well, I didn't necessarily go in order with them. They had to fit the artist or band.
That's true. Avenged Sevenfold. That was episode 28.
But they were both early on my list to give you any idea on how my brainstorming sessions with.
Yeah.
Those two things were one idea apart, and that idea was sponsored by Skittles.
Sponsored by Skittles. Homemade ice cream machine. Sponsored by Skittles. Afraid of Dolphins. That is an old one. Wow. It's like a relic. Mm-hmm. I love that. I had no idea that document existed.
Well, that document exists. Nowhere you have access to.
No, of course not. That'd be perilous. Well, that's fun. I can't wait to see what else is on it.
Yeah, it's a big old list.
That's really cool. I kind of want to know what all spins you've taken from it so far, but that's for another time. Well, Mixtaper, I'm happy to have the win this week. We've learned 4 new things about Matchbox 20.
That they didn't do 3 things and they did do 1.
That's right. You can know a negative. Well, we will see you next week for the Spinter Wonderland season.
Ooh, it's time to get into the mad season of Spinter Wonderland.
That's what they say, I guess.
And I leave you with a almost merry. Yeah.
Almost. Oh, because it's almost Spinter Wonderland. That makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's what he was going for.
I get it now. Yeah. Well, welcome back to Connor.
Sorry, I had took a break at the rest stop.
Oh, rest stop 3 miles down the road. Uh-oh. I know how that song ends.
But I had to leave to come back here.
Well, if you're gone, how am I going to continue the podcast? I'd have to stop.
Aha, I beat you to it!
Man, now I'm angry.
Listen, I couldn't let you have that crutch.
Yeah. Well, I can't believe we didn't make a Bed of Lies joke when the mixtaper was here. Actually, now that I'm looking at it,
Oh, man.
I think we really missed that opportunity.
I can't believe he missed that opportunity. He doesn't have a bed of lies. He has a bed of silverware.
Spins. Yeah. Well, let's talk about this album art on the cover of Mad Season. What an interesting image. It surely evokes madness. It's a guy wearing like a bunch of scarves and a dress in ballet shoes with bunny ears, holding a little peacock toy on a string. I couldn't find much information about this album cover. You just kind of have to take it for what it is. What do you think? Good, bad, otherwise?
I think I had one of those toys, but it wasn't a peacock.
You had a not peacock on a string?
It was a rooster, like a wooden rooster
Oh,
on wheels with a string attached. I think it was a rooster. I don't remember. I remember having something like that.
okay. I had ducks on a stick. And when you pushed it, the flippers were on the wheels. And so they would flop and waddle all around.
Oh, yeah. I think I had one of those too. Maybe that's what I was thinking of.
Maybe.
I also had a hat like that, but it was Mickey Mouse ears instead of rabbit ears.
Yeah, that's fair, but that's normal. Like, that exists. I guess they are from Orlando. Maybe this is like a nod to Mickey Mouse ears.
How dare you say that walking around with Mickey Mouse ears is normal, but this isn't? This album art screams normal.
Yeah, I guess. It's interesting for sure. I don't particularly understand it. I don't know how to digest it, really.
Does it make you angry?
No, just confused, really.
Oh.
No, just disappointed. I'm not angry, I'm just disappointed. But Angry is indeed up first. Track number 1. So you had some familiarity with the Matchbox 20 sound.
Yes.
What'd you think of Angry?
It made me angry.
Really? Why?
I just wanted to kill that joke.
Yeah, I
even though
know.
It was probably already dead.
I know. Just wanted to beat it to death one more time.
It's okay. I wouldn't say it's the greatest opener, but
I think the opening part is the great opener part, where we start with that acoustic guitar, do-do-do-do-do. Like, that's great.
yeah.
A great way to start this album off. But you're right, the rest of the song kind of plateaus earlier on.
I think by the time you hit that chorus, I'm kind of done with it.
And it's good that I'm not angry. I need to get over I'm not angry anymore. I do think by the time you get to that point, you've heard everything different about the song. Like, when you finish that chorus,
Yeah.
the song just kind of starts to repeat itself in full.
Yeah, it's just like, all right, nothing new.
I felt that way about a lot of parts of this album. I think, like, that part's really strong, right? From the beginning up through the end of that first chorus. It feels great. It's very engaging. It's a fun opener. It really gets you into the Matchbox 20 style. And then I feel like I've heard the whole song at that point. And I feel like that happens a lot of other times around this record, where there's a really good verse and chorus, a really memorable chorus, and a good hook, and a good, lyrical message that peaks at the halfway point and just kind of lets us down gently on a lot of these tracks. And it's also a case, I know we're just on the first track, and we'll get into it more probably later on, but I feel like once you've heard the Matchbox 20 sound, you've kind of heard it. If we talk about Angry and then move into Black and White People sounds very similar to Angry, in terms of their sound and the way it's produced. The instrumentation doesn't change a lot yet. It does eventually down the line, but I think for a lot of the songs on this album that are less memorable, they all kind of blur together.
They have a very consistent sound.
Consistent.
And so it can make some of the underperformers not stand out. Because, like, the ones that stand out, you can tell them apart because you like them and they're high performers, right? But the ones that kind of are in the background, it can be harder to distinguish them if you don't listen to this album enough times.
Yeah.
Angry isn't like a bad song necessarily, just it's not maybe what I would have opened with.
Reasonable. Yeah, I think consistent is a great adjective to use, because I think this album has just a solid, not to spoil my final score or anything, because this doesn't really give it away, but this album's running at about an 80 out of 100 almost all the time. Maybe like a high 70s, 78, 79, 80, in that range. It doesn't really dip below that. Then there are like really good songs that spike that way higher, but it always comes back to that kind of level. So that affects the score a little bit. But yeah, it's nice to have that consistent foundation. But especially, I think this is kind of a backloaded album for me, a little bit. And so especially on this front part, Angry not so much, but Black and White People, a few of these earlier tracks get a little bit lost in the shuffle. Now, Black and White People is a song, though, that I really do like lyrically. It's a really interesting concept.
I like it lyrically, and I think the more upbeat instrumentals would have actually made it a better intro track.
Ooh, maybe. With the horns and stuff?
Mm-hmm.
I think that maybe is true for like the energy of it, but it does kind of feel a little bit disingenuous, like a little bit different than the rest of the album.
Yeah, maybe it wouldn't have been the best, like, this is what you should be prepared for track.
No.
But I think it would get the energy up, and And yeah, I think it makes a good opener.
Okay, I get that. And then we would start on a kind of a more optimistic note, I guess, than angry. Angry is like a negative, you know? I'm not angry, I guess, is the hook of the song, but still, just to see the opening track called Angry, you're like, oh. But this is a really interesting concept. I just like the idea of, you know, we're talking about the ghost of a chance, the fiction, the romance, and the technicolor dreams of black and white people. Like, life is boring and drab, but in our dreams we can see beyond that, and that's the thing we should talk about and the thing we should pursue, something more colorful and vibrant and beautiful than we can currently exist in. And that's really fun. It's a really clever little metaphor that I think honestly happens a lot. You hear things about color symbolism all the time. We've talked about a ton of color symbolism on this podcast, but I just like the contrast of like black and white people versus their technicolor dreams. That's nice. And it does feel a little 2000, but hey, nothing wrong with that. My biggest problem with the song is musically. I don't think Black and White People is particularly memorable musically, even though it's on the stronger side of lyrics. They got to hit their stride. They got to get the blend going. But honestly, I think Angry and Black and White People are kind of pop leaning sides of the pop rock sound. I really like when we get to Crutch and we kind of break a little more into the rock side of the pop rock sound.
Yeah, I do like when they get little more rock. This almost, mainly because modern day country is almost more all pop country, but this almost has like a modern country rock flair to it.
Crutch? Maybe. With that guitar riff?
Like when he comes in with the vocals and the guitar riff all together. I don't know. Again, it's not true country rock, like in what I would define as country rock, but like modern day pop country rock.
Very specific, maybe. I don't know. I guess I can hear where you're coming from. It does have some of the similar like thumbprints of that, but that feels a little bit like calling Lucy Dacus alternative country to me.
I mean, people do.
Well, people did, but they were wrong, and we gave them crap for it in that episode.
Yeah. I'm just saying, like, I could think of a couple modern day country artists that I could hear doing this exact song. Just that the vocal, I wanna be a crutch, you know?
Okay, well, he doesn't sing it like that with the twang.
He kind of does.
But he
kind of does. There's kind of a slight twang there.
No, but that's just the Rob Thomas voice.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like, but that slight twang mixed with the guitar riff, mixed with the more rocky vocals. It's not far off. Like, if I just played this song, you didn't know it was a Matchbox 20 song, and that it was Rob Thomas, you might accidentally mistake it for a modern-day country rock song.
I mean, you might be right. I don't know. It does. He has an interesting voice, because he does try to go for this, like, dad rock, butt rock kind of sound. And it lands sometimes, and it works really well, but other times I'm not so sure it does.
And even the faster vocal section just reminds me of that one Jason Aldean song.
Ew. He's talking about Dirt Road Anthem or whatever?
Yeah, where he,
wow.
Yeah.
Where he raps? Country rap?
Yeah, country rap.
Crap?
Runtry?
Yeah. Wow, but I do love the sentiment of Crutch lyrically, too. I don't want to be the crutch one step away from down. I don't want to just be something that's holding you up, propping you up. I am here for more than that. There's a cool guitar solo in it. It definitely is a lot rockier. And I guess I could see it being countryer. Crutch is great, but then we kind of get into the first ballad of the album a little bit.
Last Beautiful Girl.
Last Beautiful Girl.
Then after that, it's all the ugly ones.
Oh, that's sad. I don't know if I guess that's kind of the implication. But it is the album's 5th single. It hit number 20 on the Billboard Adult Top 40 chart in the US, and it was number 13 on the Bubbling Under Hot 100, which I think, again, just means number 113. And it charted in the UK as well. Last Beautiful Girl is a song I think that fits this album really well, and Matchbox 20 just in general. I think this is a good sound for their style, and for his voice, really. They have a good vocal harmony to them that doesn't get a chance to come out and play very often, unless it's in background vocals. I mean, you heard it on Crutch with a yeah, but at least on Last Beautiful Girl, they get to show themselves in the chorus, almost like a barbershop quartet, but they wouldn't ever expand a barbershop.
I think I like Crutch better than this one, though.
Really?
I know the Spotify plays disagree with me, but...
The People's Champion.
I don't know. I actually really enjoyed Crutch as much as I made fun of it.
Well, I mean, I like Crutch a lot, too. But, I mean, The Last Beautiful Girl is way closer to ballad territory.
Yeah. I think the chorus didn't do what I wanted it to do.
You didn't like it? I mean, conceptually, it's cool. The one that you wrecked won't take you back if you were the last beautiful girl in the world. If we're calling it off, we're done.
I guess it just, every time they lead into it, it feels like it's building up to a bigger moment, and then they back it back down to this groovy, it won't be the first heart to break. They almost put it smoother than everything else leading up to it. And that's not what I expected.
It does kind of have a more aggressive pre-chorus.
Yeah, like the pre-chorus feels like it's building up to a big hit, and then they just kind of drop it out and go a nice smooth float through the chorus.
They do. It is floaty. You're right. Last Beautiful Girl's floaty. That's true. I just think the vocal harmony gives it a little something special.
There's some great vocal harmonies on it.
And I like the bridge. They kind of go double time on the bridge. It's over now and I've gone without. I really like that pickup too. But yeah, I guess you're right because it does go there and then undoes all that.
Yep, but you know what song is just amazing?
Oh, wow. Yes. Bohemian Rhapsody. We talked about it just a few weeks ago.
Dang.
No, I'm just kidding. You're probably talking about If You're Gone.
Ballad.
Man.
Horns.
Big time.
Great vocals. Great lyrics. I just mean knocking it out of the park on all fronts.
Truly, I don't know if Matchbox 20 could make a much better song than If You're Gone. Wow. And yet it was still the second single from the album.
Let's say bands would argue that Push, 3 a.m., Unwell, and How Far We've Come are all better performers according to Spotify. But
well, that's according to Spotify streams, which again weren't even around when the songs came out, so that's a very skewed metric. But this song, I mean, If You're Gone, don't sleep on it, because it made it to number 5 on the Hot 100.
It's good.
Yeah, which makes it tied for the band's second best ranking song on the Billboard charts. It's tied with Unwell as their second best. It also stayed on the charts for 42 weeks, almost a full year.
I think the people I know that like Matchbox 20 always rave about Unwell, and so that's what I would have said was their best song.
I think it's definitely one of their most popular songs. It was the one that I knew, more than I knew If You're Gone or Bent, but I did know If You're Gone beforehand, just not as well. But it's certified double platinum too. If You're Gone, it's no slouch. I'm defending myself again, needlessly, because I don't really care that much. But still, If You're Gone also caught a ton of traction in New Zealand, actually, and it ended up being the 11th best performing song of 2001 in the entire country. So that's wild.
I just really like the line, there's a little bit of something me in everything in you.
Yeah, I like that line, and I think this song is an excellent example of avoiding what a lot of songwriters consider like the second verse curse. You're trying to tell a story, right? Your main point of the story is the chorus. The first verse is your chance to do a lot of exposition and build to the moral of the story, kind of, in the chorus, right? The theme that you want to keep hitting and coming back to. But then you get done with that chorus and you have to write a second verse.
Yeah.
That advances the story in a meaningful way and then still takes you back around to the theme and to the chorus again.
Yep.
And the first verse in this song is, I think you're already leaving, your hands on the door, like, I feel you walking away. I need this in my life and I'm scared. And then we get through the chorus and then he hits the second verse. I mean, even stronger than the first verse. I bet you're hard to get over. I bet the room won't shine. Like, that just feels way more impactful to me than even the first verse. I bet you're hard to get over. It's just such a supercharged image. And it's just a beautiful song. It's actually really cool, really touching. Rob Thomas wrote this song about meeting the woman that he would eventually go on to marry. This was when they were still new in the relationship. And he said, we were separated for a few weeks and we were on the phone all the time. And I was thinking, I met this wonderful person and I wondered if everything I was going through was going to make it too crazy to build a relationship. Because, you know, he's in the band and he's on the road, he's touring, he's trying to get to know this person over a long distance and a long time. And If You're Gone is him feeling the weight of that situation. Like, man, I don't think I could handle it if you're gone. I need this in my life. I found this special thing and I'm cherishing it and I want to hold on to it. But in the midst of that, it's really difficult because life is moving. And I think that's what makes it such a cool song.
I don't know why, but there was a part of me that thought at some point he was going to reverse it.
Oh.
And say that there was a little bit of something you in everything in me that felt thematic, like a good little twist. But he never did.
Yeah, I think that would be really cool. Actually, that'd be a great choice. I don't know. Maybe it just wouldn't work. But I like the horns on this one. This song has a great sense of progression, too, as we build and build and build.
Just has a great sense.
Yeah, it's really good. Also, it's got a cool, edgy black and white music video that they shoot on top of a building. I did my due diligence this time, and I did watch all the music videos from this album. I usually mention them and forget to watch them. This time, I watched them all. And I've learned that Rob Thomas looks really dramatic when he sings. Now, this is an emotional song. It's not like it doesn't serve the song, but man, he is like really into it, you know? And it doesn't help that it was filmed in 2000, so there's that. But wow, what a track. It's definitely one of my favorites on this album.
Well, there's an awful lot of breathing room, but I can hardly move.
Right, like what a vivid image. And again, perfect to just describe there's so much distance between us. I've got a lot of breathing room, but I can hardly move because I'm paralyzed by the fear and the stress that it brings to be so far away from you. Ah, wow. Really cool. I like it a lot.
But it's title track time.
That's right. Man, we're on a really strong stretch of the record right here. Mad Season, the title track, is up next. It's the third single from the album. Didn't do quite as well as If You're Gone, their second most successful single of all time, but shocker. It went to number 48 on the US Hot 100 and also did well in New Zealand and Australia and the UK. Now, Mad Season, as Rob Thomas says, is about the wild ride that the band has been on since Success hit. The whole idea came from our Mad Season. It has nothing to do with being bad, it's just crazy. There are no handbooks for any of this. And the music video reflects that sentiment, how mad life has gotten, how unbelievable this rocket to the moon has been. They basically, in the music video, they get mobbed by adoring fans who overwhelm the police and like start a riot just to take the band's cool little rock star identities, take whatever the band has to offer, and as soon as they get what they want, they kind of just leave the band in the dust once they have no more to give. It's not an unfamiliar sentiment. We've seen it in a few other songs before, but man, it's put in a catchy little package here. Mad Season has a great opening, got a great little guitar hook.
I think Mad Season would have been another good opener.
Honestly, I think it would have been great as an opener instead of this mid-record track. I can see that. Mm-hmm. And I'd put Angry here. Honestly, I just switched this and Angry. I think that'd be really good.
I'd be okay with that.
Yeah. And the lyrics are similarly evocative. I feel stupid, but I know it won't last for long. I've been guessing and I could have been guessing wrong. That's really cool. That's such a good turn of phrase. Like, I like that a lot. And I think this is another song I might have known prior to this album, but I can't be sure. It's just the first time I put on the record and I heard that chorus, I need you now, do you think you can cope? I figured me out, that I'm lost and I'm hopeless, and bleeding and broken, though I've never spoken, I've come undone in this mad season. That sounded so familiar to me. I have to have heard this song at some other point in my life, right? It seems like it. It may be my favorite or second favorite chorus on the album. It's just so blunt. Rob Thomas has this way of writing lyrics that's just like basic, you know? He doesn't always use a ton of figurative language. It's not flowery, it's not showy, but it's clever. He doesn't come out and give you some metaphor that you have to digest and work with. He just says, I feel stupid. And it's like, oh, I relate to that sometimes. You know what I mean? Like, you just get a lot of really raw emotion in the way that he writes his lyrics, and I like that. And I also think it was interesting. I found a cool quote from him. He said, a lot of times when you write a song, you're writing it to one person, but really you're singing it to yourself. A lot of songs are about you analyzing yourself and the situation you're in. It just seems to be a lot easier when you make it seem as if you're talking about two people. And when he wrote Mad Season, he said, this was like me catching up on myself. It was like, now everything's gone kind of crazy, and let's see what kind of person you are now. And so this song is just kind of self-reflection on how he is and how he's doing in the midst of this mad season and this new romance that's blossoming and the fame he's found with Santana and Smooth and the shrine that he's built to it, which he didn't really build to it, you know.
I also like the line, you've grown colder now and torn apart, angry, turned around. The rhythm there is nice.
Oh, yeah. Good rhythm. That's jaded. He's describing someone who's jaded. I learned that from Miley Cyrus. And again, he's talking about himself through the lens of looking at another person. Really, that's so good. What an effective way to do reflection. You know, I just a second ago talked about how he doesn't do a ton of metaphors or like illustrative things, and his lyrics are usually really blunt. I think Rest Stop is a time that he does kind of try to do a little symbolism, a little allegory here, and it just kind of falls flat for me. You know, he talks about this relationship. The whole premise of the song is once again rooted in real life, but as he goes through the lyrics, he talks about 3 miles from the rest stop, she slams on the brakes and says, basically, get out of my car. I don't want to be mean, but I realize this isn't going to work between us, and I need to let you out of the car. And so it kind of becomes this metaphor for being dumped, as he's literally dumped out onto the side of the road. And it kind of falls flat a little bit, but I think that falls flat because I guess in my mind I'm trying to make it into a metaphor, into symbolism, when really it's just a true event. This is a thing that actually happened to him. He said, I was like 17 years old, hitchhiking from Orlando to Daytona. That was my plan for the weekend. He said, I met this girl and we had this great week together. We were headed back to her place. Somewhere along the middle of the road, she just stopped the car and kicked me out. She said, listen, this just isn't going to work out. Sorry, thanks for playing. She didn't even take me to my exit. So it's like a literal thing that happened. And he's just, once again, being very blunt and direct about it. But I just expect it to be more metaphorical than it is, and I guess that's why it let me down. He said, when you're 17, everything is a big affair of the heart, and everything is huge. Now, it's just a character-building story, but at the time, it really messed me up, so I wrote a song about it. I can't believe you could get left on the side of the road while you're hitchhiking across the state and call that a character-building story. That does seem like a huge deal, right? I guess it doesn't have to be a big affair of the heart. I mean, he's not in love with this woman, but to reduce it to a character-building story seems like you're really minimizing things. But other than the lyrics kind of feeling a little obscure, Rest Stop is another song that I think is a little boring to me. Musically, it's not as engaging. I mean, we've just come off this really, really high of If You're Gone in Mad Season. So Rest Stop kind of just feels, honestly, like a rest stop. Like we were just taking a break in the middle of this album. And it's okay.
I would say that it is a drop-off from If You're Gone in Mad Season. But I don't know if we drop as far back as like Angry and Black and White People.
Really? I would say this is lower than both of those.
No, you see, I like Rest Stop like I like Crutch. I think I like that more rocky sound.
Yeah, maybe. Rest Stop just feels slow and long, honestly. It's 4.5 minutes.
Yeah. Huh.
And it's not a good 4.5 minutes like If You're Gone.
Dang.
That's where I get hung up on with it. What's funny, though, is, I guess, again, Spotify plays aren't everything, but the Rest Stop has a pretty hefty chunk of the Spotify plays on this album. It is like in the upper third, maybe. But I just don't like it that much. And I honestly like The Burn better.
Really?
And The Burn has a third of its plays. Oh, The Burn is so cool. I mean, just musically, The Burn sticks with me a lot more. It's a little more sing-songy. It's a little more earwormy. I guess conceptually, like... lyrically, it's a little okay. He's talking about like diseases. Not really diseases. It's another metaphor that doesn't work. I wonder how I never got the burn, if I'm ever going to learn how lonely people make a life one strain at a time. I don't like that. But, just musically, it's fun to sing, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's okay. I like it. I think I just like that rockier sound.
Well, the burn kind of has a bit of the rockier edge. It does have more of the pop melody, but with a rock edge. Yeah.
I like the burn. I was not.
Can't you feel the burn?
The beginning is still the low point on the album for me.
Well, yeah, I agree. Like I said, I think this album's largely backloaded.
I would put the burn slightly below Rest Stop, just slightly, but like I'm imagining we're kind of at a start point, kind of plateaued, and then we peak up for If You're Gone Mad Season. Then we kind of back down a little bit for Rest Stop in the burn, then jump back up for Bent. And then I won't get too far ahead of us, but that's where we're kind of at.
I see. That's a logical way to think about this journey so far, I think. And I'm not far behind you. I just have different opinions on Rest Stop.
Yeah.
But you know what? I do think we start to peak again on a pretty steep curve after the burn with Bent. Bent, oh boy, it is the lead single from the album. And despite now its lack of popularity, I guess, because it is in second place to...
I mean, it's still pretty popular.
If You're Gone, and probably certainly to Unwell and a lot of stuff. It's still popular, but Bent is Matchbox 20's only song to top the Billboard Hot 100.
Wow.
Yeah, it did that for a week in July of 2000. So I don't know what the magic sauce was at that time, but If You're Gone couldn't get there, Unwell couldn't get there, Push couldn't get there. Like, nothing got there except for Bent. It topped the Canadian charts for 5 non-consecutive weeks, too, and Bent was nominated for a Best Rock Song Grammy, which it did not win, but in fairness, it was tough competition that year, because it was up against such hits as Again by Lenny Kravitz, Kryptonite by Three Doors Down, Californication by the Red Hot Chili Peppers from episode 47, and the Grammy winner, With Arms Wide Open by Creed. So, Bent had a fighting chance, but I don't know if it could have won that year anyway.
Yeah.
Ooh, but Bent is fun. Rob Thomas said it's a love song and a rock song. There's a hopeful tone to it. It's kind of like the person saying, as misguided as I may be, right, as bent as I am, these are things that it takes to be with me, which I really like. He said, I've never been a love song guy until I got married. This was like a version of a love song, a codependent love song for the new millennium. Two people kind of saying, I'm all screwed up over here and you're all screwed up over there, and we could get together, and it wouldn't really matter if we're screwed up because we'll be together and it will be fine. So that's cool. I think Bent, much like Mad Season, ends up being a pretty reflective song. It's kind of got a little bit of a darker sonic texture to it, a few more minor chords, a few more reverby echoes. It's got a good atmosphere, and that's what I like a lot about Bent. Man, it's just such a pretty chorus. Can you help me? I'm bent. I'm so scared that I'll never get put back together. It's vulnerable, right? It's like vulnerable in a way that's not compromised. I just like that a lot.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Ballad guy loves If You're Gone. But if I had to pick something that wasn't a ballad, it's got to be Bent.
Interesting.
I can understand why this song performed so well.
I guess.
I like Bent a lot.
I like it a normal amount. I think it's definitely a standout track on the album. For me, it's not the album's highest peak.
No.
I almost would put it in third place for my preferences, but
Ooh, really?
yeah, maybe.
It's definitely not the peak. If You're Gone, it's the peak.
It's a close race.
What would you put in second?
If you're assuming If You're Gone is in first, which it is,
Well, I guess I was assuming.
Mad Season probably is my second.
Ooh, okay. Now, how much of that is just because it's following up If You're Gone?
I think none of it.
Like, if we did the hypothetical Mad Season opener, Angry After If You're Gone, does Bent all of a sudden squeak up in the number 2?
No, I don't think it does.
Is Mad Season getting any afterburn from If You're Gone?
I don't think so. I really like just the vibes of Mad Season. That feels really good to me. Like, that just scratches the itch, you know?
Fair enough.
But I think another song that is really, really good, especially for the ballad guy perhaps, Bed of Lies. Ooh,
Better Lies is another good one.
a pure ballad.
Pure ballad. None of those cross-spread ballads.
None of those mutt ballads. Yeah. No, he says, I would not sleep in this bed of lies, so toss me out and turn in. I like that, the juxtaposition of prepositions. Toss me out, turn in. Clever. I also like that we start on a chorus. That's rare for this album. That doesn't happen a lot.
It's true.
And we go into this really beautiful, like, sparse verse. For all the strong instrumentation that's been on the rest of this album, it's really refreshing to get. I don't think I could take another empty moment and for it to sound so empty. I don't think I could fake another hollow smile and it sounds so hollow. Really good production tricks on Bed of Lies that mirror what the lyrics are saying to you. And I like that. It's a long song. Bed of Lies is slow and it's 5.5 minutes. It's the longest song on this album by a bit. Well, close. I guess you won't be mine beats it out, but it doesn't feel that way. Where does Bed of Lies rank for you then? As a more pure ballad, but on an album where you haven't liked the ballads as much?
You'll find out.
Oh, I guess I will, but I kind of want to know now.
All right, you know what? I'll give you a little tease. Better Lies makes the top 3.
Okay. Wow. That's cool. That's a little surprising, actually. But not really, because that's what I just... You know what? You get it. I think Better Lies was a pleasant surprise, and it's another good chance for them to do a little vocal harmony work.
Better Lies was a pleasant surprise.
Darn right. And then we get to Leave. Now, Leave is a song that I feel like I forget until we get to the chorus. We start the verse and I'm like, how does this one go? And I get through and I'm going and I'm going and I'm like, I don't remember this song much at all. And then he goes, that's how it's gonna leave. And I'm like, oh yeah, of course. And it all comes flooding back to me. It's how it's gonna stand. You know you've been dependent on. You know what I mean? That's really good.
Mm-hmm.
It's another one with a great chorus that's hidden behind a verse that kind of loses me a little bit. It's another ballady kind of song. It's a really slower half of the album here at the back end.
It sure is.
I don't know. I hope that was a good thing for you.
Not that that's a bad thing.
Oh, well, that's good.
What made you think it would be a bad thing?
I don't know. You just never know. Because it could stall out. If it gets too slow and sentimental at the end of the album, I feel like you run the risk of stalling out. Especially after an album that started like Crutch.
Well, you can get ballad-y without getting slow and stalling out.
That's true.
But that is the more common way to do it.
I know. Well, and I think Bed of Lies and Leave run that risk, but then Stop kind of picks things up a little faster, and, we get a little more momentum going into the actual end of the record. Stop is a really interesting song. Fun fact, it's the only song on the album written by both Rob Thomas and drummer Paul Doucette. They both worked on it together. And this song is another fast song. It's far from pop. This one totally gets a little rocky here. You got to give it up to get off sometimes. This one feels a little repetitive to me. Stop does. Got to give it up to get it off sometimes. Got to give it up to get off sometimes. So many times in a row.
Yeah, Stop brings me back to the beginning of the album.
With Angry? Stop is the same angry vibes?
Yeah.
That's fair.
But, again, almost less than. I actually think I like Angry better. I think Stop takes us to a new low.
Whoa. Maybe.
Because, again, I think Angry just was damaged by its placement. I think if you had moved it, I would have liked it better.
I agree, yeah.
Whereas I don't think anywhere that you put Stop is going to make me like it any more or less than I do.
It's a little much, and it kind of feels here to be here. It doesn't make as many good lyrical turns as every other song.
Stop can just stop, for all I can...
Yeah. All he says is you got to give it up to get off. You better stop using me up because I've had enough. That's kind of it. It does feel a little bit like filler. If any of these 13 songs are going to be filler, I think Stop is probably the first or second one that I would cut. And again, the Spotify plays do kind of reflect that. It is by a million the least streamed, so it's probably that's an indicator that it's the least lingering in popularity. But then we end the album with this really dramatic turn with You Won't Be Mine.
Watch me.
This song feels like a smoky, bluesy piano bar in a black and white, like, noir movie. Like, that's how it starts, you know? Rainy night outside, like Nighthawks vibes. And then as we move on, it gets bigger and more intense, and You Won't Be Mine has a really good sense of build to it, too, as we crescendo into the latter moments of the album.
You Won't Be Mine builds very well.
Yeah, by the time we get to, that second or third chorus, You'll Be Rich in Love and You'll Carry On, there's a whole orchestra going on behind him. It's beautiful, and it's intense, and it's kind of a whole new sound for this album. I mean, I guess I said earlier on in the episode that they kind of have one sound and they don't change up the instrumentation a lot. One of the main exceptions to that is later on in You Won't Be Mine, and that makes it fresh and new, and that makes the 5.5 minute length on it not feel as long because you're just soaking in all this sound, all this emotion, all this like weighty stuff as you kind of gently ease your way out of the album. And it helps too that the song ends with like a minute and a half of just straight up instrumentals, which is kind of cool. You know, it takes you down to just a little echoey piano and plays you out really gently. A better end than the beginning, I think.
I think it was a good closer.
I agree. Probably the perfect closer for this album. Of these 13, couldn't close it any better. And so now it's time for our perfect closer, which is Final Spin. My scores, I'm going to give them right to you. Music, 87. Again, building from that consistent base of like a high 70s, low 80s, those spikes do a lot for this album. I think there are good clumps of like 2 or 3 here. You know, Angry is pretty decent. Black and White People's a little dip. But Crutch and Last Beautiful Girl is a spike. If You're Gone in Mad Season is a huge spike. Rest Stop and The Burn kind of bring it back down a little bit. But Bent and Bed of Lies is a big spike. Like, those are the things that carry it. Those bunches of songs. So 87 for the music. Giving lyrics an 86. Not a lot of figurative language texture going on here, but still really uniquely emotionally relatable and really easy to latch on and connect to, I think, pretty universally. He sings about stuff that's personal to him, but in a way that, even if it's not personal to you, you pretty much got it. You know, you've experienced something very similar to that, yourself or someone like you. Anyway, get it? That's a Matchbox 20 joke. Instruments and production are getting an 84. The whole album is a little bit samey, not necessarily to its, like, detriment, but I don't know. It's like I said on the very first track, like, once you've heard the first verse and the chorus of a song, you've heard pretty much the whole song in pretty much all 13 of these cases, with a few exceptions. But 84 for that. Overall vibe, 88. I really enjoyed Matchbox 20. I was shocked how nostalgic it felt, but how, like, fresh this album still is, how much it still works 24 years later. A quarter of a century later, which is such a nasty thought. I don't like that one, but I really enjoyed it, and it makes me want to listen to more Matchbox 20. I'm glad I discovered this album in the year of discovery. So its overall score is an 87.6, which, if you're paying any attention, is actually the same score that I gave Asia last week with Steely Dan. They're almost tied, but Mad Season ends up a little below Asia for very different reasons. Those are two very different albums.
Wow.
Especially look to that instruments and production score if you want to really see the difference between Steely Dan, Asia, and Matchbox 20's Mad Season. But Mad Season ends at 214 on the list. That's where it is. Number 214, and it's just above Earth, Wind, and Fire, and I Am. So that's a pretty solid showing for Matchbox 20. And now it is time for Connor's scores. Let's see how your discovery of Matchbox 20 went, because I really enjoyed mine. I'm curious if you enjoyed yours as well.
Well, I think we got to start with our top 3.
We sure do.
In album order.
As always,
we're going to kick things off with
Crutch.
If You're Gone.
Whoa, I took a guess that you would pick Crutch, and I was wrong. You did talk a lot about Crutch.
I did. I liked Crutch.
Yeah, you did.
If You're Gone.
If You're Gone is unmissable.
Mad Season.
Mm-hmm.
Bent.
Oh.
And honorable mention to Bed of Lies.
So you said it was in the top 3, but really it was in the top 3 as a honorable mention.
Yep.
Sneaky. It was a Bed of Lies that you told.
It made the Connor top 3.
It did.
Honorably.
Honorably. That's a solid top 3. No surprises there, really. You kind of lean more towards the heavier stuff than the ballads on this one.
I mean, that's what I said as we went through this.
I know. It's just, if you would have made me guess, I would have been surprised by that. But give me the goods. You got a score?
do have a score. And that score is a solid 7 out of 10.
Okay, that's decent. That's a good outing for this, I think. That's where I would have guessed you'd put this roughly.
It's going decently high in the 7s. I think it's going to go right above Jagged Little Pill by Alanis Morissette.
Oh, that's funny because they toured with her
Yeah.
and opened for her. And you're going to put their album higher than hers.
As for a unit, I gotta go with 7 Jaggaroos out of 10, right? I mean,
Jaggaroos.
Gotta give them the Jaggaroos.
I mean, I guess, yeah, for Matchbox 20, because he did write those 2 songs for Mick Jaggeroo.
7 Jaggaroos out of 10.
Again, it'll be a really confusing unit once we get the Rolling Stones episode in, whenever that may be.
That'll have to be a big one.
It surely will be. Well, wonderful. Playlist picks?
Yeah, I'll make it easy. Well, maybe I'm making it hard on you. I don't know. I'm gonna take If You're Calling.
Ooh, shocker. Not making it hard on me, actually. I think this is a rare case where when I listened to the album today, and I did listen to it multiple times today just to get ready and get in the Matchbox 20 zone, you gotta be careful. You know, if you play with Matchbox 20, you might burn out. But anyway, I listened to that joke didn't land, you didn't laugh. But anyway, I listened to the album a couple times today and I was like, I know exactly what 2 songs I want on the playlist.
Okay.
And one of them is If You're Gone.
Yep.
The other one is Mad Season.
Mad Season back to back.
Yeah, of course.
Classic.
I can't believe that happens so often. Do you think that's just how albums are built, where the best songs kind of gravitate to each other? Or is that just the way that we like them the most?
I don't know.
Hard to say. But I think that wraps up all the official business we have for this episode. So, in closing, hope you had fun. Hope you're enjoying your own Mad Season.
And if you didn't, re-listen to this and try again.
Try again. Please give it another shot. Maybe you missed something. Maybe you're just listening wrong. But maybe you just want a different episode. And if you do, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts, including Apple and Spotify and YouTube and all the places. You can find us on social media, at SpinItPodOfficial on Instagram and at SpinItPod on X.
Check out all of our bonus content and extended episodes on our website, www.spinitpod.com.
Ooh, you said it this time.
Sorry, I kind of stole your thunder there.
No, I didn't have any thunder.
I was worried you were going to miss the third W this time.
I have done that in the past, but it's been a long time.
You've done that a non-zero amount of times.
Hey, I've done that a non-1 amount of times, too.
You know what would be really cool?
What would be really cool? Bohemian Rhapsody.
If you shared this podcast with someone that you'd hang out in a barbershop with.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Maybe share it with them while hanging out with them.
Share it with your barber.
Yeah, maybe share it with your barber. Maybe that's who you're hanging out with, you know? Maybe just put it on in the barbershop. Introduce everybody in there to Spin It Podcast.
That'd be great. And if you're listening in a barbershop right now, you're going to look great with that new haircut. Enjoy that. And we will see you next week for another episode on another album. And remember, it's Spinter Wonderland, the maddest season of them all. And until then,
keep spinning. And I'm glad we went the whole episode without talking about Smooth by Santana. I would never want to talk about that.
Well, you got out of it, but the Mixtaper had to bring it up several times.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, but he did it to himself, really. He talked about shrines and...
He and I have a pact to not talk about that.
We don't talk about Smooth by Santana in this household.
Well,